you just created a character and you love her already. She's got a really cool character concept, you love her background, and you've already planned a really in-depth story arc for her. Now, you just got to make sure that she can make it to see it through. And I'm going to show you how to do that by keeping her alive. Welcome to D&D War Room. Today we're going to be talking about 5 combat tips that are going to help you thrive, survive, and stay alive. Wait, no, those two are the same thing. Well, either way, first combat tip, use cover. So as you can see here, we have a wizard and a goblin. Now our wizard is doing the smart thing and he's positioned himself behind cover. In this case, the cover that he's positioned himself behind is a well. Now this is going to give him half cover, which is a +2 bonus to his armor class. Now, our wizard can do better. He can look for what is called 3/4 cover. Now, that's a situation where you're behind something solid, but perhaps the vision to it, or it's like graded enough that you can't effectively shoot into it. Good examples of this would be like windows, grates as I mentioned, arrow holes where archers fire from. In this case, our wizard is going to look for the window inside this little house. Once he positions himself inside the house and he's aimed through the window, he can effectively attack the goblin. The goblin doesn't have any cover. Meanwhile, he's safe, or at least somewhat safe, from the goblin's fire. But let's just say that our wizard doesn't think that this +5 to armor class is enough. He can move to what is called total cover. And that's going to be a scenario where he can't be seen or targeted by our goblin. So in this case, he gets into a corner. Now there's plenty of other ways to move. A really common tactic is to just go through a door and then get to the side of it where they can't see you. In this case, this is slightly better for him because even if the goblin moves, the goblin's unlikely to be able to get sight on him. And if he does, he won't be able to attack that same turn. Now our second tip is going to be disengaging. So in this scenario here, we can see that our wizard was doing something and he stumbled upon a bush. And inside this bush, there were 3 goblins. Now the goblins have completely surrounded him and he's not left with many options. The good news is he does have a fighter to the north of him. So he could run and try to regroup with the fighter. But if he does that, he'll take opportunity attacks from all 3 of these goblins. So what he's going to do instead is disengage. By disengaging, he's able to back up out of the goblin's melee range without taking an opportunity attacks. Now, this is beneficial in many ways. Yes, you do forego your attack for the turn, but this allows you to regroup, especially if you're a squishy character, without taking those hits. So now we're going to discuss dodging. So, this scenario is now flipped. And you might say to yourself, well, the fighter's surrounded. This isn't as bad as the wizard, but it's still an issue. And that's actually the wrong way to think about it. Here we have a fighter with a shield, good armor, presumably good AC. We'll say he has an 18 to his AC. Him being surrounded by goblins is actually a beneficial position if you know how to use it. By using the dodge action, our fighter has essentially become a tank. These goblins can't move out of his range without taking an opportunity attack. So what they're more likely to do is just all attack him. And with his high AC of 18, they're unlikely to do much damage. Meanwhile, our wizard is free to target them without any worry of him getting attacked. So if you are a high AC character and you get surrounded, don't panic, just dodge. Now for arguably the most important tip I'm going to talk about today. Fighting together. I know that sounds really obvious or really simple, but the reality of it is sometimes egos get in the way, and I'm prone to this sometimes too. There'll be a cool fight and you're like, yeah, I'm going to show everybody my new power. Maybe you just want to show how many enemies you can take out. But the reality of it is that just puts the rest of your team at risk. And with the 5e mechanics, there's no real benefit to it. For example, a goblin with 1 HP is just as strong as a goblin with full. And this just scales as enemies get stronger. Let me give you an example so you can see kind of a microcosm of how this plays out. And then I want you to scale that up in your head to a more serious fight. Maybe not just goblins. So if our wizard and our fighter decide, I'll take one, you take one. All right, so they targeted their own goblin. So now we have two semi-hurt goblins. It is their turn, and on their turn, they're going to do what I've been saying. They're going to work together. They're both going to attack the fighter. So now the fighter has two incoming attacks. And they might not both hit, but this is more damage, potentially, than he would have taken if they would have done the alternative. So let's see what happens if our fighter and our wizard decide to attack together. As you can see, they're able to take out one goblin, which means on the goblins round, they only get one attack. And with his high AC, it's a good chance that they're going to miss. It's not a big deal, but small things like this over the course of a battle could mean the difference between being alive and rolling death saves. Brings us to tip number 5. It's okay to run. Now, oftentimes in D&D game, we get into these battles and it's kind of a foregone conclusion that we're going to persevere somehow. So we're less likely to actually back out. Now, this is really unrealistic. Sometimes, heroes are going to get overwhelmed. They're going to have too many enemies. They're going to have too many wounded. The dice just didn't go your way. By being able to say, hey, this isn't a fight we're going to win, and running so you can survive to fight another day, you open up possibilities for character growth and a cool redemption arc. So one strategy to ensuring that you guys get away is to dash. So as you can see here, our wizard is going to try to make his dash action. That's going to be twice his movement, so 60 feet. From here, he's kind of running off the map, which is why it's showing 55. But essentially, he's using the dash action to get out of the fight. He's getting off the map, and any DM who sees you trying to run off the map probably has a clear indication that you realize this isn't a fight that you can win and that you guys are trying to get out of. Another benefit to using dash besides getting off the map is you set up a scenario where the enemy has to also use their action to dash if they want to keep up with you. This is going to make sure that you're not getting attacked that round, unless of course they have ranged. And that's going to conclude my 5 combat tips. Hopefully you can use those in your games to improve your combat. If you got something out of this, please drop a like. I also want to say a big thank you to Dice Grimorium. This map that you're seeing right now is his creation, and he's got tons of them for free at the link below. He also has a Patreon, so check that out. And I really want to give a big shout out to Rika Rini. She's the one who did the art for me, this beautiful orc mama that you see. And fingers crossed, she's going to be creating the new face of this channel, so you won't see a ghost anymore.